And you know, it just goes to show you, even though you may have a plan in place and all good efforts had come out of trying to look at an exhaustive type of plan that would consider all elements needed, we really did not address accessibility issues for those that were. So we're looking at implementing and working with some service agencies that can help us establish those types of mobility opportunities to allow for those that are disabled to be able to facilitate and use the park. Connecting the Compton Creek to the schools was really a critical element. As many of you all know, Ms. Arsenault is a retired teacher working in the school system. Administrator? Secretary. Having a close relationship with the school system, and it was critical from her vantage point and for others on the Compton Creek Task Force that we tie in the schools. It was, as I was examining the plan, it amazed me. We have approximately 9 schools, elementary, middle, and high schools that are within a half-mile radius of the creek. And so as the plan was being developed, the thought and the idea was that there would be an opportunity to connect the schools to this developed creek. Today, we have one activity that has resulted from that, and that is the outdoor classroom at Compton High School. And that is a great initiative, but that's one of about 4 others that we're looking and preparing to implement here. Our next project that we're working with MRCA on is to make sure that we implement a outdoor classroom for Washington Elementary. Washington Elementary, as you know, is in the northwest sector of the city, and it actually abuts the creek. It is literally on the creek. And so there's an opportunity to create a public park along with the trail, as well as some public open space for the actual school. And so as I read the plan, I understood that the specific goal was to teach kids in a non-traditional setting. Take them out of the traditional classroom and have them to experience the creek 101 and the activities that occur at the creek. So teaching them the importance of habitat restoration, for instance, teaching them the importance of water flow and the watershed that is a part of the Compton Creek, teaching them the importance of providing curriculum for physical fitness. These activities are what we anticipate are going to occur with the proper instruction from the schools, and just give the students an opportunity to learn in a natural environment. That is most interesting and intriguing, and we think that it's going to add an additional element to learning outside of the classroom. So that's a very exciting task. As we were having our discussion, we also decided, well, if we're going to build these outdoor classrooms, let's take it to another level. The plan indicated that we needed to create public art. And as you all know, children and students can be extremely creative. So we decided that with these 9 schools, we're going to challenge them to create the public arts for these neighborhood parks. So we're sending out an initiative to the school board at the end of the month, and then working with instructors and counselors to amass a team of students that will ultimately create the public art for the neighborhood parks that we're going to create. And again, it's going to give them that buy-in, that they are a part of this revitalization of the creek. I am very big on acronyms, and we were talking about, as we undergo all of these activities, as we start putting this phase 1 into action, we needed to really address the creek at its current state. So for those of you who have actually been out there, we've had several cleanup efforts, and a month to 3 months later, we have debris still accumulating in the actual creek. So I talked to the councilwoman, I talked to her staff, I talked to my staff, and I said, let's take this to the highest level possible. Let's do a cleanup like we have not seen a cleanup, and we initiated what we call the C3 movement, the Compton Creek Cleanup. And what we're pegging this event to be is to be the largest volunteer initiative to clean up the creek. And this is going to occur on October 17th, 2009, starting at 7 a.m. We're going to assemble at Raymond Street Park here in Compton. And what we're looking for is a minimum of 1,000 volunteers, from elected officials all the way down to residents. So this is my plea. This is my moment in the spotlight to make sure everyone understands. We expect every person here to attend and to invite at least 10 other people. But seriously, we know that with all of the efforts that the county, the city, our other agencies, all of our ad hoc and all of our advocate groups that are trying to do to improve the overall creek, all of our efforts would really go in vain if we really do not take a strong stance and begin to really make an impact with cleaning up the creek. So on the 17th, we're looking at doing some deweeding and graffiti removal. We will have the Army Corps of Engineers there to actually clean out the inside of the creek and to do some additional debris removal. We're going to be doing some data collection and some field surveys and observations, because at that point, we're going to solidify and specifically identify where these neighborhood parks are going to go. We're going to look at our enhanced crosswalks and where potentially we can begin implementing our phases for the reconstruction of our fencing. And we're going to really begin to promote in the community that the residents have a vested interest and have a direct connection with making sure that the creek and all of the recommendations come to fruition. So I know that we have had initiatives in the past. What I really want to stress is that this is going to be an event like none other. We are seeking volunteers. We are going to mobilize teams, and you will be assigned to an area, and you will be responsible for de-weeding, debris removal, talking to the neighbors, talking to individuals to make sure they understand that there is an overall vision from the highest level of government, federal government, all the way down to the local level, from outstanding and recognizable Compton residents all the way down to our mere residents and our children in our schools. We're taking a collective effort to make sure that we can address the creek and do it immediately. So I'm going to end my presentation on that. I want to make sure that you all understand there is a movement, there is a force, there is an attitude in the city of Compton right now that we realize and we recognize that we have a plan, we're willing and we're able to implement it. We will do so with the fervor and with the tenacity that has been demonstrated already through our councilwoman, and we're just going to build upon, her excitement and her zeal and make sure that we can eventually get this Compton Creek in the manner that we need to. So by a show of hands, how many are not only going to volunteer, but will commit to bringing at least 10 other volunteers? By a show of hands. And keep in mind, we're taping this, so we can put your face to a name. And again, if you just get 10 volunteers, if I can get 10 people to bring 10 volunteers, then we're halfway there. We're halfway there. I have other individuals from the city that are going to be going, that'll be attending. We have some individuals from the federal agencies. We always invite our elected officials out. And again, this is just going to be a a force, a movement. That's the best way I can describe it. I mean, if the creek could actually have a flow, a current, it would be so great that it would probably wash us away. And that's what I want this volunteer initiative to do, is to really come in and have an immediate impact and then continue to build upon that. So with that, I want to close my presentation and just thank you all for coming out.